Hello everyone, Comrade Snake here. We are partially through turn 1 of Operation Theseus, and I wanted to kind of show off what's been going on. So hopefully you saw the setup intro video, because pieces have been moved, and I'm not going to re-explain anything about the setup, although all the action's really been in one section of the board so far, so let's take a look. Basically, the opening moves here have been the fight for Bir Hashim, and there's been a combination of good and bad luck on both ends, although the bad luck mostly has been on the allied player side, or at the very least they don't have great luck. There's a few bad activations for the Axis, and that they did not roll very high in number of action points for a few key divisions here, but their main objective succeeded. I should say main objective for this little bit of the campaign, and that they have taken Bir Hashim. The 7th Armored is moving as fast as it can towards Bir Hashim to try to shore up the defenses here. But they've only gotten to activate once so far. Almost all of the rolls by the Axis, the initiative rolls have gone to the Axis player. They get a +3 on this first turn, so it's pretty easy for them to keep going. And there was one very bad activation roll by the first Commonwealth 1st Armored up here, which they only got one action point, so that really wasn't able to do much at all. They were trying to get some forces down to kind of start moving to create a better barrier, but hasn't worked out so far. The Free French did do a reaction activation at one point and damaged some Italian units, but they've been there. The 2nd motorized is still healthy, but the 1st motorized infantry here have taken some damage, taken a beating. They've lost 33% combat power, which is pretty severe in real terms, but still in the game, not great either. And they decided to evacuate Bir Hashim rather than take the extra strength point losses and try to keep fighting, because it's just, they figured they might be able to get burn through an activation or so, hopefully, of the Arietas trying to breach the box/minefield hex, which is pretty difficult to do generally. But the sheer punct on the Arietta really helps them out here, but they actually rolled a run anyway. So they managed to successfully breach 3 mine hexes. They've breached Bir Hashim, they breached this part of the roadway and this north section, which admittedly, it doesn't matter that much, but it is still breached, so it makes Bir Hashim much more vulnerable in that fashion. Overall, yeah, the Panzers did take some hits in an attack on Bir Hashim earlier, so that's a useful thing that the French did there. But they've decided making just a last stand while at risk of being continually surrounded, was not worth it. So they've trying to evacuate out. They're going to keep trying to evacuate out. Hopefully they can get a reaction here soon, or possibly an activation, and try to force out this Italian recon unit that's kind of trying to blockade their supply. And maybe with that we'll be able to open that back up, or the 7th Armored come in and force them out. That might be a better option than trying to have the Whoops. I'm not messing them all up. Then trying to have the Free French do it. They can keep occupying this position. They can open up this pathway back up. Either way, though, the attack's mostly going pretty good. They taken the Italians and Germans have taken some strength point losses, but they forced the Free French out. They're breaching hexes. It cost nearly every activation of the Arietta division. They have one left. They might be able to do at least one other something here. If they can pull one out, get this next initiative, they might try to see if they can really damage the French again, though they do still have a retreat route because the Germans cannot trace a zone of control into the minefield hexes. Those are considered Allied control. So they do have that at least. They're not totally out of lines of communication or supply even here. However, if the Italians move into here or the Germans move into there, then they're going to be in serious trouble if something doesn't change. So that's the first update of what's going on. We still have the layer. I'm going to forget what they are again. The 90th layer and 15th Panzer over here are still fresh. They haven't moved at all. So hopefully, if they can open up, get rid of the French, drive the French out, open up this path, still potentially quite a lot of German units. If this can all happen before the Commonwealth can move in, or even I guess even if they do, then there's going to be a lot of panzers that are going to be fresh, can get along these trails, start hammering the 7th Armored. Ideally, before they want to do it after this, so that they can get to them before the Brits are in the rough ground or the hills here. That can really help them hold, do some damage. But anyway, we'll see how it shakes out. But this has been pretty interesting so far. I'll come back when some more things have happened on this first turn. Okay, coming in about maybe halfway, maybe a bit over halfway of turn 1. Still got quite a bit to do, but let's see here how the battle in the south has been shaping up. So as you can see, a lot of the 7th Armored is trying to move up into defensive positions. They have at least one more activation they might be able to get. Probably just going to need to dig in and try to prevent any as much breakthroughs as possible. The Free French are still holding strong over at this box hex. Hasn't really been a lot of action at them, especially because the Arietta division is out of actions, so they're just kind of parked. But they're keeping the line open. The Layer division, 90th Layer division, as you can see, kind of move their way up here. There's also some of their recon and infantry up here as well. They did quite a bit of breaching with their multiple activations in a row. So we have this hex over here is also clear with that. They have opened up this roadway back to the supply point. And with that, part of their unit had pushed forward in case of a Commonwealth activation. But more importantly, the 15th Panzer then pushed their HQ up and pushed through. So they're now in a position to potentially assault the 1st Armored's defensive line up to the north. Back up just a little bit. Up to the north, or at the very least prevent them from reinforcing the south. So things are not looking too great around Bir Hashim for the Commonwealth. They're in a spot where they're going to be able to kind of dig in, which will help a bit. This was they were a little worried for a minute when there was worried about a potential flank attack. So they put some units down here to guard their HQ in this area, but so the Germans end up striking north instead. And that is pretty much mostly what happened here. So pretty interesting situation. The Commonwealth has so little they can do this first turn. They don't get many activations, and because they're all low rating on there, then they end up with low activation points, or action points, excuse me, per activation. They've done a couple reaction moves to try to move things out of the way, get into better positions, but not great going on there. And I'm just starting to now start activating the northern and central divisions of both the Axis and the Commonwealth. So far, only one went, which was the Italians at Trieste, who decided they wanted to try to make an attack on the New Zealanders to try to break them over here so they could potentially maybe open up this roadway, breach these minefields to allow an alternative supply path through to the forced spearhead up here. But it was a disaster. They rolled a 1, didn't have great modifiers in the first place. Just a regular attack, wasn't a huge activation roll. Was hoping to maybe at least do like a 1v1, but instead they took 2 hits, so they had to take the 1 loss there, and they were both disrupted, so it forced a retreat back. So that did not go well for them at all. That's the only other move that's happened away from the south portion. Do the rest, start doing the rest of this, try to figure out what to do there. And so we'll probably come back here at the end of the turn. See you in just a second. All right, so I'm back here at the end of turn 1 of Operation Theseus. And I mean, this should all be in one video, but just you know, that's the game we're playing. In case you clicked this video and skipped ahead, but let's get a look at the board here. Some more stuff's happened, especially in the north. Not a whole lot, because there's not a lot of activations and not a lot of units up there. But I'm gonna get a look. So we'll go from the south first, near Birashim. So the border front lines here haven't really shifted much. Some units moved up from the 7th Armored, and the British are digging in all spaces that they can. Just the Axis just sitting over here. And I've done all of the admin phase, so units that had been disrupted are now recovered by default, so just FYI. And I've transferred the Schierpunkt. Will be going to the 15th Panzer for this next turn. So these units can help really try to maul the 1st Armored and open up the center. With the Arietta Division, of course, still down here. They're going to potentially be holding the line because they don't have a lot of activations, just to prevent the British from disrupting the supply. Probably them, and I think the 21st Panzer are going to predominantly be the ones doing that, or maybe possibly the Lear division, and this, depending on how well I think this fight up here goes, 21st Panzer might disengage from there to push north as well. We'll see how it exactly shakes out. And up here near the center, near the town of, just trying to fix these, Knightsbridge, come on. The 1st Armored is trying to make a defensive line. The 15th Panzer brought this infantry unit in and had attempted to breach the minefield and failed, but they've recovered with the admin phase now. To try to open up a second path so that we can get the Panzers on a flank attack around here, try to hit these those Matildas. Those are Cromwells. Well, anyway, try to hit these British tank units, armored units from the side here. And then we have over here the Italians, and they had their unsuccessful fight around this town, Rotunda Ulab, or that's not, yeah, that fortified town. Didn't go well, but not a whole lot else to do there. New Zealand regiment still sitting normal. Some of the Italians up here. Hold on, let me do this real quick. Some of the Italians up here had moved up to try to get ready to start trying to breach through some of these minefields. And then a lot of advance up here with the 15th Schutzen, I think is how you pronounce that, Schutzen Division, and some of the other Italian divisions trying to get up to start breaching some of these minefields, try to see if they can kind of start warming their way in through here and keep these Commonwealth units, the South Africans, occupied while the South fights for its life. So that's been the initial stuff here. Not a lot of breaches really through all of the layers of minefields yet, but good progress was made in the south around Birashim, opening up these lines. So it's going to be a bit of a tricky fight, but I think there's a decent chance that the Axis can power through. But we'll see, if depending on how the activations go, because they're not going to get the full +3 to their initiative this time, and there's the Commonwealth are going to have a lot more, especially the first Armored, a lot more room to play now with the amount of activations they have and how many points, action points they can get per activation, at least at the start. They can potentially do some decent stuff here. Probably want to be careful about attacking into minefields, because even if it's a friendly minefield, it's, I mean, friendly in air quotes is still a minefield, so there's a penalty to that, but they might be able to at least move around to maybe kind of plug the gap a bit and deal with that. We'll see how it all shakes out, but that's going to be the end of turn 1, and we'll see you next time in turn 2.